Are Aussies having enough babies? Well, not according to recent data, which is why the government has come out today with a plea for families to make more future taxpayers.
Having a baby. It's a delicate conversation that usually takes place between you and your treasurer.
It would be better if birth rates were higher.
With all the subtlety of a foot-tapping mother-in-law, he wants us to get busy. An urgent request following recent population data showing our fertility is at an all-time low. The international birth average per woman is 2.3 children. The number needed to maintain population levels is 2.1. The Bureau of Statistics predicts Australia is on track for 1.6. So why aren't we having kids?
Because there's cascading economic pressures on those that are of childbearing age, and it's significantly impacting decisions to have children or to have larger families.
It's been 20 years since Treasurer Peter Costello introduced the $3,000 baby bonus, recommending Aussies have
one for mum, one for dad, and one for the country.
And all three immediately enjoyed an uptick in the overall birth rate. But that incentive ended in 2014. The baby bonus generation has reached childbearing age, and cost of living pressures have skyrocketed, which the current Treasurer acknowledges.
But there are a whole range of reasons. People's preferences are changing. It's expensive to raise kids.
Ahead of Tuesday's budget, Chalmers says not to expect a return of the bonus, but that government policies on expanded childcare and paid parental leave are there to make having kids easier.
If Australia's birth rate stays low, we will ultimately see a declining population, if not for international migration. So that will cause some pressure on the workforce to support those older people in the population.
So does the government need to get bolder with the baby-making incentives, or maybe just quit pressuring us so much?
Oh, that sounded so very desperate, Georgie. Just leave us alone.
Leave us alone, please.
So, here to help us decide which is the host of The Baby Bubble and professional mother, Jessie Stephens.
Hey.
Jessie, why are couples letting the country down so badly?
Look, there's a few reasons. I mean, for a lot of mothers, they are waiting longer, which means that you might have less. So you might not start till your mid-30s, and that means that your range of kind of how long you've got is obviously a bit shorter. And then there are also a lot of great reasons, like contraception has been a great thing, women working, we've got lots of ambitions, and there are also just people who don't want them. And a generation or two generations ago, they were having 7. So I think this is, a great thing.
Well, Jessie, you've just had beautiful baby Luna, but are you considering having 1.6 more babies now that the Treasurer wants you to?
Yes. So I like instructions. So now that I've got that specific number, I'm trying to work out how to exactly deliver that. But yes, this is what I think about constantly. I know that I want at least one more. 2 feels manageable, and I think I'm very much like a statistical average here. From my age, I'm 33, I've had my first. Like maybe 2, 3 feels like utter chaos, and anyone with 3 will tell me that. But I reckon a generation ago I would have had 4. But for a variety of reasons, I'm just like, it's not doable. I live in Sydney. I don't know how to have a house with enough room. I would need a new car. There are just so many things to think about.
My legs just crossed when you said that, Jessie, but we did see a baby boom 20 years ago. Do you think that parenting attitudes have changed so much, and how so?
Yes. So this is another really interesting theory because obviously we know that the financial thing is important, cost of living, that's all impacting it. But there's also this social, cultural impact, which is that we parent really differently to how we did a generation or 2 ago. And there's this idea that we're, helicopter parenting, or rather it's called sort of intensive parenting. And it means that I've got little Luna now. The way that I parent her, how much I have focused on solids and sleep. I can't parent multiple children like this. I'm insane with how I am parenting. And so a lot of people looking at it going, this isn't possible. Our standards of parenting have become so high, which is a result of a lot of expertise that's been thrown our way. We used to read one parenting book, and now we are filled with lots and lots of conflicting information. And we're anxious. We're an anxious generation who are trying to do a really good job, and we feel like we can't if we have lots.
Do you think we're also having fewer babies because the government incentives aren't there?
Well, I think it's a good point. Obviously, this government has done a really good job with extending the paid parental leave scheme. Childcare subsidies are really important. But if you actually look at the data, then in countries where they have had better government initiatives, so Sweden is an example, they've not been able to bump the birth rate, the fertility rate. So it's about more than just government incentives. There is a big question mark here, which is, can governments make people have more babies? And at the moment, not really.
Jessie, do you think that old mate Jimmy Charm, professionally known as Jim Chalmers, is just taking his role at the Labor Party a bit too seriously?
That's actually, it's a great point.
Thank you.
I'm really
Jessie.
enjoying that.
Thank you. I'm glad we could make that together.
Yes, and you know what? As a government and Australia economically, this is a really good point that we do need to be talking about. And what I would love to see is for men and women in Australia, all over the world, to have as many or as few children as they want. And what we don't want is a generation where people feel like they can't have kids because they're financially stifled, because they are completing their tertiary education later, and therefore their career is taking off at the exact moment that they should probably be starting a family. There are a lot of compounding factors, and that would be a shame. If you do want lots and lots of kids, then you should be able to go for it.
Jessie, lots to think about there. And can you please thank Luna for sparing you for a couple of minutes this evening? Thank you.
Yes, I will.